Good Tuesday evening, hockey fans. Welcome back into the neutral zone. Zach and I are back. We are going to be breaking down the Jack Eichel trade. The Sabres have moved on from their star ex-captain, and he is now a Golden Knight. What does this mean for both teams involved? We will break down the trade. Plus, the Blackhawks decided to move on from coach Jeremey Colitan. Finally, some on-ice news to talk about in Chicago. We will discuss that in Colitan's unusual tenure in Chicago. And then some recent highlights. Zach Parise's return to Minnesota. Alex Ovechkin just keeps setting milestones out in Washington. And is November too early to have the goal of the year? Connor McDavid has something to say about that. All that and more coming up here on the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio. Buckle up. It's gonna be a good one. And welcome back into the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Excited to be back with everybody tonight for another fun week. It's been a lot going on in the hockey world tonight, hasn't it, Zach?
Yes, sir.
We will be starting things off with the Jack Eichel trade. But before we go any further, of course, we've got to acknowledge our sponsors. The Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The Warriors dropped their playoff game 14-0 on the road to the Riverside Disciples and have been eliminated. Best of luck to the Disciples in the championship. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get film to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. Find them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, or Facebook Southern California Warriors. And Background Check International. Businesses, are you looking to background check a new hire on? Let Kit Fremen take care of that for you. Kit founded and has managed Background Check International since 1994, and he's here to help you with the screening process. Contact Kit and let him help make the hiring process that much easier. This business is used for professional background checks and not for the use of any crimes such as identity theft or any other illegal activity. Go to their website, bcint.com, or find them on Facebook by searching Background Check International-BCI. And IE Sports Radio, you can find us at IE Sports Radio, whether that's Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, or check out our website, iesportsradio.com. This show is available on Twitter. You can find us at IESR Neutral Zone. I am at Adam_Karnick. Zach is at The Pupless. And without further ado, we are ready to go. And if you are listening live here on Spreaker, hop on into the chat. Good evening. Beantown Brandon is in with us tonight. He's excited because his Bruins won. So good to see you, Beantown. Brandon is the host of Titletown Sports on Wednesdays. So he'll be on tomorrow night talking about, I'm sure, his Patriots. But he mixes in some Bruins talk in there good. So good to see you, Brandon. And if you are listening, hop on into the chat room. It's free. Don't have to worry about paying any subscriptions or anything. And you can check us out and interact with us that way. Or just sit back and listen and have some fun. How are you tonight, Zach?
Doing good, Adam. Just keeping busy. What about you?
Yes, always busy. Zach is furious. While I'm doing the read, Zach is editing all of his notes, getting everything lined up perfectly, and just so we can get off and do the thing, do the talking thing.
Do the thing.
Do the thing.
ESPN's down, so apparently we have to resort to USA Today.
It all works. It all works. All right. So we had talked last week that coming into this show, if Jack Eichel hadn't been traded yet, that we were going to play fantasy GM and figure out what it would take for Vegas to acquire Jack Eichel. Well, Vegas went and did us a favor and did it for real. So we don't need to worry about playing fantasy GM anymore. So let's review the Jack Eichel trade real quick here. And, of course, several different places to read about it. A couple that I was reading about was the Hockey Writers was one of the first ones that I read about, and then also the Sporting News. So Vegas, in this deal, they're getting Jack Eichel, and they're getting a conditional third-round pick from Buffalo. Basically, it depends on the draft pick compensation for both sides is essentially going to be dependent on if Vegas somehow winds up in the lottery and somehow winds up with a top 10 pick. Sake of argument, let's just pretend that Vegas is going to be what we all expect Vegas to be and a playoff team and not in the lottery. So Vegas gets Jack Eichel and a 2023 third-round pick from Buffalo. Buffalo, meanwhile, gets a center, Peyton Krebs, right winger, Tuck. Thank you, Alex Tuck. A first-round pick in 2022 and a second-round pick in 2023. So I'll start with you, Zach. What did you think of the trade, first of all?
I think it's a decent trade. I'm glad Eichel can get out of a terrible situation like that and get the medical help that he needs, that he prefers, I guess. There's a couple good players definitely going to Buffalo in return. Alex Tuck he's been a star on like all their playoff runs, I feel like, so far. Peyton Krebs is getting into his own. So yeah.
Yeah, Krebs was a first-round pick in 2019 for Vegas. He's a young kid, so hasn't really blossomed in the NHL yet. But he's also, I think he's 20 years old still. So yeah. He's a young kid.
I've heard his name enough, but not as much as Alex Tuck, that's for sure.
Yeah. Sporting News did a nice thing in their write-up where they quoted some stuff from the Mayo Clinic. I wanted to kind of set the stage here a little bit with what Eichel needs for as far as his surgery. So he got injured back in March. He's got slammed into the boards, and he's got a herniated disc in his neck. And there are basically two procedures. There was the one that Buffalo wanted him to get done, and there was the one that Eichel wanted to have done. The procedure that the Sabres wanted done, if my sister, who's a nurse, is going to listen to this, she's going to laugh at me. The Sabres wanted him to do an interior cervical disectomy. I hope I said all those words correctly. What that involves, and this is from the Mayo Clinic, reading it through the Sporting News, they would take the damaged disc, they would fuse it with a bone graft, where they take that disc out and fuse a bone graft in its place. That's kind of the standard procedure, if you will. What Eichel wanted to have done was to have an artificial disc put in. So rather than taking out the bad one and putting in a bone graft, he wanted them to make an artificial disc to put it in its place.
Sure.
The idea behind that is an artificial disc allows for better mobility and will be better for his long-term health.
Sure.
Buffalo didn't want that done in part because it's never been done on an NHL player before. It's deemed a little bit more risky of a procedure. And in the NHL, teams get final say on what you have done. You know, what work, how medical procedures get done. It's the team that has the final say.
You are their asset.
Right. So Vegas, when Vegas traded for Eichel, they came right out and said, look, we want Jack to get the procedure that he wants, the one that he's comfortable with.
I was just reading that.
So that there was no problem there with Vegas. In fact, I believe Eichel's already had the surgery done. If he hasn't, it's going to be very, very, very soon. I was reading that last week when the trade occurred. It was, and he's already lined up for surgery. So,
Golden Knights general manager Kelly McCrimmon was quoted as saying, "The decision of the surgery is one that we respectfully defer to Jack and his representatives. Why wouldn't his people want what's best for him?"
Yeah, which is good to hear. Nice that got to go on a bit of a tangent here. We've heard a lot recently in the last few months of alternative procedures during this pandemic. This guy's actually been talking to doctors and listening to doctors, and he's debating between two viable medical procedures. This isn't, I could listen to science or I could go eat horse medicine and pray that it works. This is, he's legitimately talking to doctors.
Yeah.
So in this instance, I have no problem with him. It's my body. I feel more comfortable getting this procedure done.
Sure.
It's a viable, correct surgery. It's just never been done on a hockey player before.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what you said about the one he wants is better for his long-term health. Okay, so the one that Buffalo wanted did that have a shorter recovery period that would get him back to playing hockey faster, but maybe not the best for him in the long term? Is that the situation?
That I don't know the recovery time for either of these. I don't know the recovery time for the fusion.
Okay.
For the one that the Sabres wanted to have done. I do know that the recovery time for the artificial is going to put Eichel, he's not playing hockey until after the Olympics in February. I mean, realistically, he's not skating in a competitive game for Vegas until March.
Yeah. Oh, here. Kelly McCrimmon, the GM of the Vegas Golden Knights, accepted the reality in making what could be called a Vegas gamble and acquiring a player who would be sidelined for another 3 to 5 months. Yeah, like you're saying.
No, it's March before Eichel plays. Or I guess late February after the Olympics.
Yeah,
you know, it's a while. It's a while. He's cleared to skate very soon after the procedure, which is nice. He just can't get hit.
Okay.
So that if all he were doing were getting up and walking around, he'll be fine. It's the fact that he just can't take those hits, those punishing hits that you take in hockey, like getting put into the boards, which put him in this place in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
So for my take for Vegas on the trade, you're getting a superstar center. You're getting one of the top players in the game today. He's under contract for the next 4 or 5 seasons. But it's a player that you don't get to do anything with until March.
Sure.
We won't know for this season what kind of an effect he'll have on the team. They could very possibly be getting into the playoffs and he's still figuring out how to work with guys like Max Pacioretty or some of the other stars.
Jonathan Marchessault.
Yeah, Marchessault. Some of the other guys there in Vegas. He could still be figuring out how to play with them, and they're in the first round of the playoffs, and that lack of chemistry could hurt them.
Sure.
Or Jack Eichel is a star player. He figures it out really quickly, and they go on a tear.
Yeah.
It's both are very viable options.
Yeah. For Eichel, he gets to leave Buffalo, where he's only known losing, and join a Golden Knights franchise that's mostly known for success during its 4 years of existence.
Yeah. They're not having the best of success right now. They're in 6th place in the Pacific, only 12 points in 12 games on the season.
500, they're 6-6 going into tonight.
Yeah, 6-6-0. Yeah. No overtime losses yet for them yet. Well, they'll get around to that eventually. Get some of those bonus points in there.
In terms of the draft picks and the other players that are headed to Buffalo, Alex Tuck actually was a Sabres fan growing up in Syracuse, it looks like.
Yeah, he's from Western New York, so kind of a homecoming for him, such as it is. He has to go back to Buffalo, which that organization is...
Head scratching? Literally?
Literally, as in... They're not Arizona, but they're a heck of a lot closer to Arizona than they are to Vegas.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, of course, the other benefit for Eichel is he gets to do, he gets to have the surgery, he gets to be healed, and he can have the surgery the way he wants to have it.
Yeah, and that's a huge, huge peace of mind for him. He clearly did his homework. Yeah, I don't want to say research because that gets used way too much right now incorrectly. He did his homework. That's a great word for it. He did his homework on this. He should be rewarded for that. Taking a quick look at the scores going on, all kinds of games. Tuesday nights are just getting busy in the NHL. I love it. Your Red Wings, we'll talk about them later. Somehow they beat the Oilers. The Bruins.
Sweet.
There was a they beat the Senators tonight 3-2.
Devils beat Florida Panthers 7-3.
And there's games going on still, so we will get into those throughout the night. I wanted to also look the Hurricanes and the Lightning. Our IE Sports Radio colleague Angela Winstead was at that game tonight. She's a Hurricanes fan, so she went home happy. Hurricanes beat the Lightning 2-1 in a shootout. Those two teams are they are the East. The Hurricanes and the Lightning are so good. Lightning 18 shots for the game? Okay, we gotta take a break and then look at that game real quick, I think. These Tuesday nights are great and awesome. But still, good for Jack Eichel. I think we're both in agreement that Vegas probably is the winner in this move. Yeah. Buffalo, you have to give up on a great player, basically because you weren't willing to cater to him. So ultimately they have to move on. It's a shame for Buffalo, but good for Jack Eichel and good for Vegas. All right, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will get everybody caught up on some of the scores and highlights from around the NHL tonight. And then there's already been a coach firing. We will talk about that a little bit next. This is the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello and welcome to the Soccer Scoreboard Show with your host, Gabriel Montoya. This is the show for soccer, football fans, or whatever you call the beautiful game. Every week I tackle the latest and greatest news from around the soccer world. From the English Premier League to the World Cup to MLS, Liga MX, and more. You can listen to the Soccer Scoreboard Show and our lineup of fantastic guests every Friday at noon here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, hear me and hear me good. If you like sports, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like comedy, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like a different opinion coming from a different angle, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. So join me Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with your host, Jelani J.B. Bodie. And of course, my man Lopan on the WaitAMinuteShow.com. Ain't that right, Lopan?
What's up, everybody? This is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Lopan, they didn't even want you. Heck, they didn't even want me. But you know what? Right about now, they have no choice. Looking for the real sports talk? Talk that's for us, the people? Look no further. The Wait a Minute Show A prime time sports comedy cocktail that tucks you in at night. Join me and Lopan Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 2livestewsradio.com and Saturday 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Wait a Minute Show.com. Sounds like a plan to me. Ain't that right, Lopan?
Indeed.
And welcome back into the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Before we get too much further into the show, we wanted to give some live look-ins to a busy Tuesday night around the NHL. Some games have already wrapped, some are finishing up, and a few are just getting started. But Zach, you had some final thoughts on Jack Eichel.
Yeah, there was a great article I was just seeing on ESPN.com, and it was all about Eichel and his surgery, and he was saying that he hopes to see that more players get input on their injuries and their surgeries. He doesn't want any other players to go through the same kind of stalemate that he had with Buffalo.
Oh, yeah, you think about it, had the situation with Buffalo not gotten as tense, had... I don't want to make the team come off like villains because we don't know everything.
Sure.
But the easy narrative is that Buffalo were the villains, that the Sabres as an organization were the villains here in this. And had they been willing to just let him get the procedure that he wanted, had they talked with their doctors, their teams, and things like that, and decided to go forward, he might very well be playing for the Sabres right now, or be about to come back in just a few weeks.
Yeah, he could have already had the procedure, yeah.
He could have had it certainly by April, and then you're talking 5 months out from that. That's September. That's training camp. Certainly by the start of the season, certainly by now, he would be cleared to play, assuming the procedure is a success.
For sure.
So that is unfortunate all around that the organization chose to dug in its heels instead of listening to and working with the player to come to some kind of an arrangement and an agreement. All right, so let's take a peek around the NHL. Since we've got Beantown Brandon in with here tonight, we may as well start with his Bruins. The Bruins beat the Senators 3-2 tonight. Patrice Bergeron got the go-ahead goal in the second period. It was on a rebound of a bouncing puck. It was a pass that he had to kind of kick between both of his feet, and then it was not settled down by any means before he put it in net to score ultimately the winning goal. Ottawa had actually scored first in the game, the scoring summary. Sanford scored his first goal of the season for Ottawa to take a 1-0 lead. The Bruins then scored the next two goals before it got tied up, and then ultimately Bergeron scored the winner in the second period, his fifth goal of the season. The three stars of the game for that tonight, all from Boston: Derek Forbort, David Pastrnak, and Patrice Bergeron, all the three stars of the game. Boston outshot Ottawa 36-27. It was career victory number 200 for the Boston Bruins head coach Bruce Cassidy. So congratulations to Coach Cassidy on career win number 200 for Boston. Boston is now 6-4-0 on the season. Some other games that are done. We mentioned the Hurricanes and the Lightning. Our own Angela Winstead was at that tonight. She was Very excited, I'm sure, to see her Hurricanes get the win and get it down in Tampa Bay. Tampa actually scored first in the second period. Steven Stamkos scored his 7th goal of the season. And then Teuvo Teravainen scored in the third, about halfway through the third period to tie the game on a power play goal. It then went to overtime, and I want to make sure I get his first name correct here. Martin Nisus scored the game winner in overtime.
Jesus.
That was his 3rd goal of the season. Late in overtime, with about a minute and a half to go in overtime, a nice wrister. So the Hurricanes get the win there down in Tampa. That they don't have their records here. Well, then fine. I won't give an update on what their records are. I believe Carolina is 10-1 after that, I believe, but I could be wrong. No, 10-1.
Cool.
I was right. It happens on occasion. Very seldom.
Don't say that too loud. Your wife's going to hear you.
Elsewhere, the Florida Panthers tonight dropped a bad one to the Devils, 7-3.
Yeah.
That's a rough one, boy. Coach Quenneville, of course, is no longer there in Florida, and then they won their first one without him. Since then, they've dropped now back-to-back games without Coach Quenneville there, and this is a rough one, 7-3. I mean, that's a first quarter of a football game there. The Devils got the extra point. 2 goals in the first, 2 in the second, and 3 in the third to put it. It was 4-3 going into the third period, and then the Devils absolutely put it away.
Any hat tricks?
Let's see. No hat tricks. We did have a player for the Devils with 2 goals. Andreas Johansson had 2 goals for the Devils.
Okay.
But no hat trick. No hat trick for anyone. PK Subban did get his first goal of the season for the Devils. His was actually the game winner, actually.
Oh, nice.
It was the final goal of the second period, and it put the Devils ahead 4-3. They were actually down 3-1 partway through the second period. Boy, the scoring was fast and furious in that one. The Devils got a goal 24 seconds into the second, a minute and 29 seconds into the second, and then the Devils got a goal a minute and 58 seconds into the second.
Ooh.
So fast and furious scoring going on there. And then another final. Somehow, your Red Wings somehow beat the Oilers tonight 4-2. It was 3-0 at one point in that game. I was all set. I'm going to be talking about Connor McDavid later on in the show. Apparently, the Oilers didn't see the need to show up tonight in Detroit. The Red Wings get the win there 4-2.
Oh, nice. It was 3-2 when I checked. Sweet.
Yeah, it was 3-0 at one point. So the Red Wings led the entire way. Sider, another goal. It was an empty net goal to end the game.
Okay. Nemestikov.
Nemestikov was the number 1 star of the game tonight. You're going to have to help me with the goalie name. He was the number 2 star. Those are a lot of consonants all in a row.
I'm going to see it real quick.
Nedeljkovic is what I'm going to go with.
That sounds about right, yeah.
And then Connor McDavid was the number 3 star. And then a game that is going on right now, the Blackhawks and the Penguins. The Blackhawks are up 2-1 over Pittsburgh. This is the second game for the Blackhawks without Jeremey Colitan. They had late last week, they had decided to move on from their head coach, Jeremey Colitan. So purely on ice reasons. We've been going off on the Blackhawks, of course, for all the off ice stuff going on with their allegations and reports and things like that. So it's nice to actually be talking about some hockey stuff with them for a change.
It's also the second matchup between Chicago and Pittsburgh just this week in sports.
Yes. We had the one last night that went Pittsburgh's way, but that's okay. The Bears have a quarterback. I was on cloud 9 at the end of that game last night. I honestly, I didn't care that they lost. I'll be talking about that more about that tomorrow night on Chi-Town Weekly. But yeah, didn't bother me at all that they lost because Justin Fields absolutely went to town in the fourth quarter. It was wonderful to watch. So yes, for the second time in 2 nights, Chicago and Pittsburgh are going on in professional sports. Chicago right now, with about halfway through the third period, has the upper hand in that one. We will see how that finishes out. But the Blackhawks do have an interim coach at the moment. King, I'm trying to get his first, I want to get his first name correct here. But the decision to move on from Jeremey Colitan, it was the right one. Colitan had obviously lost the team. I mean, you had a moment earlier this season where he had called a timeout and they were discussing setting up a play, and the players just took the dry board from him and drew up their own play.
Gosh,
terrible. They were done.
That's insubordination for sure.
Derek King is the interim coach. And in their first game under Coach King against the Predators a few nights ago, even though nothing changed schematically, he was very forward ahead of time. He said, I don't have time to change anything before the first game. We'll do this gradually. I'll be mixing my own things in and putting my own stamp on it. But for tonight, I have to basically just go with what's already there. But you could just see a better energy from the team, that they were just feeling better about things. And they wound up winning in overtime, beating Nashville 2-1. And now they're leading Pittsburgh right now 2-1. Colitan's tenure...
Winning can help everything.
Yeah, winning helps a lot. It was pointed out by one of the Blackhawks beat writers on Twitter, Mark Lazarus. He covers them for The Athletic. He pointed out this was Colitan's 4th season as coach of the Blackhawks.
Okay.
He was fired exactly 3 years to the day since he was handed the job.
Okay.
None of his 4 seasons were normal. His first season, obviously, he came in November, so partway through his season, took over for Quenneville. Second season, got stopped partway through because of the pandemic. Then they picked up again in the Canadian bubble. Third season was the 2021 season, where it was a condensed season. You had all the realigned divisions and that format. Fourth season, he gets fired in November. So 4 seasons as coach of the team, none of them was an 82-game season.
Oh, wow.
So a strange set of circumstances. But we had our first coach firing in the NHL this season. And not surprising that it was the Blackhawks. You know, when Bowman, their general manager, got kicked out, you felt like this was very possible that it would be coming. All right, we are going to take a quick break. We'll do some more getting you caught up on everything going on in the league right now. But then we also had some stuff from last week, some 3 stars, if you will, to talk about. This is the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Back after this.
Shores of the Puget Sound to the rushing waters of the Columbia River, stretching across the Great Cascades, and on IE Sports Radio lives the Northwest Territory Sports Show, hosted by me, Brad Buckingham. On this show, I cover all the great collegiate and professional sport teams that we have here in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, I'm talking about the Seattle Seahawks, Seattle Mariners, Sounders, and even the Seattle Kraken. But I can't forget all of that is good in Oregon either. I got the Trailblazers, the Oregon Ducks, the Beavers, even the Timbers, and much, much more. You can listen to the show every Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern, noon to 1 p.m. Pacific on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with a list of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the colleges, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
What's happening, sports fans?
Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS. The SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Motorsports takes many form, and there's one show on IE Sports Radio that's ready to cover it all.
I sure hope you're talking about you and I, Daryl, because I know the Extra Mile is the best place to go for everything motorsports related.
Yes, it is. From NASCAR to IndyCar to sports cars to everything in between, IE Sports Radio has everything covered for the fastest sport in the world.
Plus, don't forget all of our random shenanigans along the way.
That's right, Caitlin. So for plenty of motorsports coverage and plenty of Caitlinisms, check out The Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio with Daryl Kinsey Jr. and Caitlin Seen, Thursdays at 8 p.m.
And welcome back to the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. So before we get out of here, we kind of wanted to do our version or variation on 3 stars. We had 3 stories from last week that kind of caught our eye. The first one was Zach Parise's return to the Minnesota Wild. He had his first homecoming last week. It was a very warm reception from the Wild. They stopped the game after his first shift, and everybody gave him the classic stick taps and a very warm reception from the Minnesota crowd there for Zach Parise.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he had played a long time there with the Wild. This is his first season finally away, and it's always nice to come back and get that. You know, fans I feel like now are more understanding of the business side of things when teams have to move on from players.
Yeah, as opposed to, you're a traitor, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How dare you?
How dare you do that? So it was nice to see. Our number 2 was Alex Ovechkin, tying Brett Hull for 4th all-time in the NHL goals list.
He has 741 now, and at age 36, Ovechkin is on pace to pass 3rd place Jaromir Jagr, who has 766 goals before the end of the season. He has 11 goals already this season. The all-time list has Wayne Gretzky at 1 with 894 and Gordie Howe at 2 with 801. Alex was quoted as saying, he also reached 600 assists the same game. All kinds of milestones. He was quoted as saying, I just want to take it day by day. You know, it's nice to be in that company. It's pretty big numbers, so let's just move on for now. Obviously, it's nice to be tied, but I still have a couple games left. Let's not jump ahead. We have to pass Hull first, and then we're going to talk about it.
The Capitals next play Thursday night in Detroit against your Red Wings.
Which brings me to my next point, actually. Just a little side note, Mo Cedar got his first NHL goal against Buffalo the other night.
And Cedar got another goal tonight.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect.
So, I would say chances are very good that Ovechkin takes 4th place for himself on Thursday night against the Red Wings.
Yeah. I would say so.
And I would imagine that the Detroit crowd will give him a very warm recognition for that too when the time comes.
Knowing that even if he's on the opposite team, he's one of the best players in the game. You got to respect that.
Yeah,
game respects game.
Exactly, yeah. So only 25 goals away from Yarger and 60 goals away from Gordie Howe. I would say Gordie Howe is very much in play then for Ovechkin.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of Gretzky's untouchables. The 894, that's...
You said that would take him, probably 3 more years?
He's 153 away at this point. I'd have to look at his number. I feel like that's 3 seasons worth of goals for Ovechkin. I don't know if he's got 3 high-end seasons like that left in him. If there were a guy to do it, though, if there were a player that could touch Gretzky, I feel like Ovechkin would be the guy.
Yeah, he's up there.
He's up there. He's so consistent with how many goals he gets in a season too. I'm gonna real quick pull up his number. While I'm pulling up his numbers,
you pull that up. I had one little quick hit right here.
Go for it.
So it was the first win of the season for the Arizona Coyotes the other night.
Yay!
Right? And there was much rejoicing. Yay! They beat Seattle Kraken 5-4. Seattle had goals by Eberle, Gord, Giordano, and Moore. And then Arizona got goals from Phil Kessel, and Lawson Krause had 2 goals. So you think there's a threshold of goals before they lose their stadium, or what do you think?
So I've got Ovechkin's numbers up here real quick.
What you got?
Of course, he's been playing since 2005.
Okay.
He's 36 years old right now. With the exception of the 2012-2013 season where they only played 48 games, and last year where it was limited, he only played 45 games.
Okay.
He's always played at least 68 games a season. He's never had less... The only time he's had less than 30 goals was last season, when he had 24 and 45 games. Otherwise, he's had at least 32 goals in every season. He's maxed out. The 2007-2008 was when he had 65, but he's had $11 seasons where he's had at least 40 goals or more.
Wow.
Sporting News actually has an article.
So it would take him about 4 years if that were the case, if he were going to keep up above 40.
Yeah. Sporting News actually has an article asking if Ovechkin will catch Gretzky. We'll dive into that more next week.
Sure.
But then our final star from last week. Is it possible to assign the goal of the year in November?
With this one, yeah, it could be.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, again, go on IESR Neutral Zone on Twitter. We retweeted it there on the show account. Connor McDavid made a fool of the New York Rangers. They're just the whole team. He scored a goal last week, had the puck at center ice, took it himself through 4 New York Rangers players before burying it in the net. You need to see it. NHL Twitter blew up when it happened. ESPN, NHL, everybody was retweeting it, putting it out there. It's just not fair. He made it look so easy. Easily the number one moment of last week. I also wanted to mention and bring up, there was something I saw from in regards to scoring already. Projected NHL scoring rates. Now this is from Dom at The Athletic. I'm not going to be able to pronounce it. I cannot pronounce his last name, so I don't want to try. Follow, just search Dom at The Athletic. Covers the NHL for The Athletic, and he puts in his Twitter handle, translating analytics into English.
Nice.
He's got his projected NHL scoring race, and this is from a few days ago. This is from 2 days ago. But you've got the top 2 scorers in the NHL, both for Edmund. Leon Draisaitl projected to get 131 points. Connor McDavid, 140 points on the season. Next closest would be Brad Marchand of Brandon's Bruins there at 106. 25 points separating 2 from 3.
Wow. Yeah, Draisaitl got 2 in their win over Seattle a couple days ago.
It's just... The Edmonton Oilers are the cheat code right now in the West. I pity the teams that have to face them on a nightly basis. So our first 3 moments of the season, all from last week. I don't know. Maybe we'll try to keep doing that.
Yeah.
When we feel like it.
Sure, I like it.
So
make it a tradition.
Yeah. A tradition that will do whenever we feel like getting around to it.
Yeah. And no fair.
All right, that is going to do it for our show this evening. Thank you again to our sponsors, the Southern California Warriors and Background Check International, for continuing to sponsor everything that we do here at IE Sports Radio. It is much appreciated. IE Sports Radio is now on Patreon, by the way, so if you feel so inclined to be a supporter of us, you can find us on Patreon and help us out there. Just help keep the lights on and allow us and the other 30-plus hosts that we have here at IE Sports Radio to allow us to do all the cool things that we do. Thank you to Larry for all the work he does behind the scenes, keeping things going. Thank you to Beantown Brandon for hopping into the chat room with us tonight. Again, you can catch him tomorrow night on Titletown Sports at 9 o'clock in the East. That is what I've got for this show tonight. So, I am Adam. He is Zach. We made it through another week. Next week, I'm sure we will be talking more about Alex Ovechkin. We'll dive into that Sporting News article. And is it possible? Could he catch the great one? If there's a player active that could do it, it's him. It's definitely him. All right. I will be back tomorrow night, the same time, 10 o'clock in the East, 9 o'clock Central Time, for Chi-Town Weekly. And then Zach is making his solo debut on Thursday night, 9 o'clock in the East, for Lions, Tigers, and Wings. Oh my. I'm sure there will be some good Red Wings talk in there, plus some other good Michigan sports talk. Until then, we'll see you next week.